Carly, what's your
Hi.
go-to self-care routine? And is it matching green sweatshirts and face masks?
Um, I think that's what you and I need to do tonight. Go to, I don't know, like I go for walks, I wash my face. I'm really, really low maintenance. I guess cooking honestly is a form of self-care because it feels good to eat it. And then I also really love the process. What about you?
Yeah, similar. I'm not very good with self-care. I think the closest I get is my morning routine of making my coffee. I get back in bed. I have a bed jet, if you've ever
Never
heard of
heard of
that.
that.
Everyone that knows me knows how much I love my bed jet, but it basically goes under your covers and blows hot or cold air into them, and I'm obsessed. And so every morning, coffee, bed jet, hot air blasting, and reading my book. And it's just this perfect little 20 to 30 minutes every morning to kick my day off. So that's
That's
my,
incredible.
yeah, self-care routine.
Welcome, everybody, back to Track Your Knives. We are going over episode 3 today, and we're just really happy to be able to get into the weeds of all the power rankings. And I've been thinking that maybe they're more like power predictions because it's all a little bit lagged, right? The way people rank this week is based on the episode we just saw. So, we're playing around with data and we're really happy to have you. Per usual, you can listen to the normal recap podcast with Tom and Sarah. Pack your knives and let's get into it.
Yeah, let's do it. So we've got a few follow-ups that we need to get to first. And then I'd love to get a few of your reactions from this week's episode. But the first is we need to set the record straight. So last week, we mentioned that Rhoda joins Angelo from All Stars 8 and Chewy from Texas in season 9 as the only chefs to win both the first and second elimination challenges. However, during this week's episode, Kristen mentioned that Rhoda is the first person to ever win back-to-back individual elimination challenges in the first 2 episodes. So do you want to sort of set the record straight there?
Yeah, the quickness with which I texted you and Tom being like, what the hell? Because I always assume it's something I did wrong. And then Tom was like, Carly, she said individual. I was like, breathing. Yeah. So she is the first. We're going to talk about another first later on. But it was the analysis I did, and you can also find it on the Pack Your Knives Instagram, looking at the number of chefs, and actually packyourknives.com, come to think of it, the number of chefs that have won 2 elimination challenges in a row. The 3 that you just mentioned, Kendra, are the ones that have done it in the first 2 episodes, as well as those who have had a streak of 3 or longer. But that was irrespective of a team versus individual challenge. So it's a really incredible feat that if Rhoda continues the streak, her streak will be the earliest that we've ever seen one start.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think it's important to note, it was still a team challenge, but they didn't give the whole team the win. They just assigned Rhoda as the winner. So I think that was a really important distinction for this one. So glad we cleared that one up. I think another one we wanted to dig into is, I don't know that this was the best challenge we've seen on Top Chef. It seemed like maybe the chefs didn't quite get the brief and everything. And so I'm curious, just from the data that you've tracked, have we ever seen over half the cast in the bottom? I was shocked when he said we want to see everybody else. I just started laughing because also I was thinking about, oh gosh, how are we going to score this? But yeah, what have, just based on the data you've looked at, have we ever seen this before?
Short answer, no. So I looked at all challenges where there were at least 9 chefs competing, just because, if it's fewer than that, then you're going to start to see half the cast in the bottom anyway. And so there have been 5 instances prior to this episode, which had 10 of the 13 chefs in the bottom. And those 5 instances had more than 50% of chefs in the bottom, but those were all team challenges. And so this was not only the only individual challenge where they had this many chefs, but looking across any of these, like where there's been 4 or more chefs, this is the episode where the elimination challenge has the largest percent of chefs that are, quote unquote, in the bottom. So I think it really speaks to, Judge Tom was grumpy.
He was very grumpy.
Very grumpy.
Yes. Yeah. That was, wild. And just to see them all lined up, like they couldn't even like stand in a straight line. And like kudos to those who felt like brave enough to like defend what they made and speak up about it, or speak to like what they knew went wrong. Like that would have been so intimidating. But yeah, Tom was not happy with that challenge. So I'm hoping next week sort of makes him a little bit happier. Another thing I wanted to touch on. So during Pack Your Knives, Sarah was curious, has a chef ever won with a trio? And so she called you out, and I knew you'd deliver with the data. So what do you have to share?
Yes. So this is something I'm still working on. I only have complete dish data for seasons 1 through 3, 8, 16, and 20 and onwards, with a smattering throughout every other season. So, not complete data set, but there have been wins with a trio, only one of which has been an elimination challenge, and that was Justin in season 11, New Orleans. There were 3 folks who won with a trio in a quickfire. Marcel in season 2 and Brian Malarkey and Joey in season 3. I'm like, I want the data because I feel like trios have gone out of style a little bit. And so we're kind of missing those early days where there could be more trios.
A lot more.
There were 28 that I saw in the seasons of data that I have. And of those, in the upper 60s, like 67, 68% of them were in the bottom or were eliminated. So trios do not have a good track record on Top Chef.
Yeah, that is not a good track record. I did remember earlier this season, I think Anthony did a trio of sweet potatoes that did land him in the top, but not the win. So it's interesting to see that maybe the trio trend will make its way back, but probably not. Yeah. And so I think just talking a bit more about some of the parts of the episode we like, obviously the sweatshirts and face masks, like that was probably both of our favorite moment from the episode with Oscar, Rhoda, Seeger, and Brittany. Just like, I love when they're in the loft together and having fun and getting to see a little bit more of their personalities. And I forget what they were calling themselves, the green sweatshirt gang. Or I saw Oscar posted on Instagram a video or a picture of the 4 of them with some funny music. So anyway, love seeing that. And I hopefully as the season goes on, we get to see more of those little bits and pieces about each of them. What did you think?
I loved it. And for those of you who aren't on YouTube, Kendra and I are wearing our own green sweatshirts in solidarity. Yes. I love seeing that human side and that connection. I know that people are, quote, not here to make friends, but honestly, it feels like that's a huge benefit to this competition. And so I love seeing that so much.
I agree. And Sarah made such a great point, like having a group that you trust and that you're really solid with is like, you've got people that you can go to help taste your food and you can trust them and getting their feedback. And so I think that's like such a great point of why this is important. And I love matching outfits for people. My friends and I used to do an event in February where we'd crawl through breweries, and we called it Feb Brewery, and we get matching sweatshirts and all run around these breweries. And like, I just love matching sweatshirts. So that was a nice little piece of my heart there.
Oh.
And then speaking of all the chefs, I think one other thing that you and I have enjoyed this season is when you've been sharing the power rankings data on Instagram, we're getting a lot of fun back and forth with the contestants and them calling each other out. And I think a few of my favorites, Lawrence mentioned that he loves fantasy leagues, like loves all caps. And then Rhoda was like, I don't know what I'm looking at. And then lots of love for Anthony. He was at the top the last 2 weeks in a row. So lots of love for him on there too. But I know you were having fun sort of going back and forth with them.
Yeah, I mean, just massive respect for these chefs, not only because of the skill that they have, but because they're going on TV. They don't have control over their own edit. They have already processed however this season has ended up, and they're reliving it. And you and I are like diving into, okay, well, these 150 people think that so-and-so is near the top and other so-and-so is at the bottom. Like, that's a huge, like, I'm just so grateful for them and how they're letting us show up too as part of the community. Because they're in a vulnerable spot, and I just want them to know how much I love them.
Yes, true. Yeah. And I think hopefully that's coming through. Like, we are just like really enjoying the season and enjoying just like, this is a really fun group. I love the commentary. Like, their Whole Food shops are always a great time of the back and forth, and Oscar celebrating hitting his budget just like under $1. So yeah, I love that your like thoughts there around like, this is a vulnerable spot for them. And it like, I can see how it might hurt to see yourself rated lower of like how the people are perceiving you. And so just like that approach, and that it's just like us showing how much we appreciate the show and them. So I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Any other things from the episode you wanted to call out before we start diving into the power rankings?
No, let's get into it.
All right, let's do it. So looking at this week, I'm now at 18th. So I keep moving down the leaderboard, which is not the right trend. And you're at 31. And I didn't check. Are you moving up or down?
I think down.
Down.
I think down as well.
So we're not doing that great.
I think
I was thinking about it, and it's March Madness right now, and my bracket also not doing great. Probably because I took my alma mater SLU to win, which was a 9 seed, had no chance, but I have to go with my heart. And so I think I probably overthink these rankings a little bit too much, instead of just like following your gut and going with that. So, yeah, it's tough, but man, kudos to those who are just like crushing it. So I'm curious, like looking at the numbers, how did everyone do predicting the winners, the eliminated chefs? Did we have anyone that got both of those right? Like, how did that look this week?
Yeah. So this week, I think, was the strongest showing for all of us, me and you maybe excluded. But so there were 142 of us this week doing these power rankings. And about 75% of everyone had the winner in their top 3 and the eliminated chef in their bottom 3. So there was a lot of accuracy here in general. And there were 13 people who got a perfect score. That's awesome. None of them got the bonus question right. So, but they, that bumped them up 26 points. So I want to give a shout out for these perfect score folks of Y Jacket 42, Top Dog, Ratina Runner, Michelle P. I'm starting to see some names again where I'm like, I got my eye on you. Lie Heat, Kendall H, Julie B, Jess N, Gingerful, Eddie T. Sheffin, Cosmic Cave Soup, Christina H, and AD Designs.
Wow, congrats everyone.
Yeah. So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people who have had the winner in their top 3 and the eliminated in their bottom 3 for at least 2 episodes. And our current leaders, Cosmic Cave Soup and Michelle, are, as you said, crushing it.
Yes. Yeah. Congrats, you guys. Tell us how you're doing this. We could use some help. Maybe just go with what's predictable instead of shaking it up. Like I'm hoping for some good shakeups because I think that will make this more fun. Like those who are getting ranked sort of in the middle, like I'd love to see Sherry or Brandon or Oscar or someone that's like not constantly being put in the top, secure a win. I think that's going to make this really fun going forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Lawrence won this week. How many users expected him to win the challenge? And did was it pretty predictable, or how did that land this week?
Yeah, I mean, so Lawrence was number 2 in the rankings.
Okay.
Rhoda topped him. Everyone loves her, rightfully so. But Lawrence had the most people putting him as most likely to win at 43. So people could sort of sense the momentum from episode 2, did their rankings, and then he did win in episode 3. It's really interesting because we're really starting to see these clumps of chefs where there are those where people are choosing them to win and no one's choosing them to be eliminated. And then likewise, people are being chosen as most likely to be eliminated, but not being chosen to win. And so, like I said, that there was a lot of people who had, Nana in their bottom 3 and Lawrence in their top 3. So, we really did see that bifurcation of points. But yeah, I want to also say that, 35 people selected Rhoda as most likely to be the winner. And Nana was 47 people out of the 142 had her as most likely to be eliminated, followed by Brittany at 34.
Okay. Yeah. So both of those, it's about over 50% thought either one of those two would be the winner or one of those two would be eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. I was also looking at, I love your Tableau dashboards. I don't know if you share those publicly, but I love looking at those. And so I was looking like who's sort of made the biggest rise and maybe who's held steady. I know it kind of, I'm not a stats person, so you can probably correct me on this, but like as we go, the numbers shrink. So the averages are going to be a little bit different looking like week to week. But I think where we're at right now with the number of chefs, that's probably fine. But Lawrence and Rhoda both started at 8 and 9 respectively. And they have gone down to being in like the 3 range. And because they're about even there. So I think those two have sort of started really middle and made a big impact. But then you've got Anthony and Brandon who have just been really steady. Like they've kept it, Anthony, the 3 to 4, Brandon, the 4 to 5. So it'll be interesting to see where like the 4 of them start to kind of start to shake out week over week. Because really it can be anyone that wins, but those 4 have been doing really well. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see how that looks and how the rankings change over time. I like looking at it that way.
Yeah. And I'll think about how to maybe if I'll put it on public for people to play around with these dashboards. I've got so many.
Love that.
Very on brand for me. I mean, it's interesting because of those top folks that you've mentioned, I'd also include Oscar, Dwen, and then I think, like no one chose them to be eliminated. Interestingly, one person chose Anthony to be eliminated. I think that's to your point about like a potential upset.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really sort of seeing this middle bunch of, honestly, like in terms of the numbers of people choosing them to be the winner or most likely to be eliminated, Brandon, Sherry, Jonathan, and Seeger, they're all sort of like low-level numbers or zeros in one of those 2 categories, most likely to be eliminated or most likely to win. And so those folks are, I'm just really curious what their trajectory is going to be. Something that I'll do later this season is I have this stat that I call NPT plus, which is the Top Chef equivalent of the baseball OPS plus. And so it combines their their sort of ability to not be in the bottom with their ability to be in the top or win. And then it standardizes it across all seasons of Top Chef to say, given all of this, how do they fall?
Yeah.
And and so I think what I like about that is that it can tell us like when people go home, were they doing really well considering, are we losing a front runner? I think these power rankings are another fun way to do that. But I think that'll be something that I look later on to see, the power rankings of these chefs in the middle, like how, like they actually are fairly strong, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're doing well because we're really just looking at with the power rankings, the elimination challenge. We're not looking at the quick fires. And so adding that in, like they may be crushing the quick fires, getting lots of wins or tops there, but not quite breaking through on the elimination, but doing well otherwise. And so, I think that will be interesting to look at as we go on of that. I think too, we had looked at, there's only a few chefs that haven't been in the bottom yet now that the entire cast was in the bottom this past episode. And I think that was just the three at the top, right? It's Lawrence, Anthony, and Brandon. I'm going to get their names down eventually. But Brandon have never been in the bottom, and those are the only three now, essentially, given this last episode.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been, that was weird having everyone in the bottom. But, like we said, that was a first for Top Chef, having 10 out of 13 in the bottom. I mean, for the folks that are like in the middle, excluding this elimination, like Sherry, Seeger, even Oscar, Jennifer, John, like there just haven't been like that many in the bottom. Or I guess Justin was in the bottom for last episode too, elimination challenge. It's really interesting to sort of see how it shakes out.
Yeah, agree. And I was tracking too, like those who've never been on the top either. And my view only shows me 4 of the 5. So I forget who the 5th is, but Brittany, Justin, Seeger, Sherry, and one other have never been the top of quickfire or an elimination either. So we've got a lot that haven't kind of reached that upper level yet too. Well, this week was pretty predictable, so not too much to dig into from the power ranking side outside of what we shared. And we're starting to see kind of that core top, that core bottom, and then those in the middle. So I am really hoping for a shakeup this next episode to create a little bit more fun here. But looking forward to next week. I don't know if you watched the promo yet, but Tristan is back, which I'm very excited for. Yes. And I love that him and Anthony, looks like they have worked together when he was with Marcus Samuelson. And so will be interesting to see if that like rattles him a little bit or if it gives him energy, like cooking for someone he's worked with for a long time. We'll kind of see, but I'm excited to have him back.
I would love to do a Top Chef family tree of who has worked under whom. Because then I think you can also pull in the Top Chef masters, right? Marcus being one of them. Other people have worked. There's a whole host of folks, right? And I would love that. But I'm really happy to see Tristan back. We've got some okra coming up.
Yes.
And I wonder what it's like to be like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands or millions of people to be like, Tom Colicchio doesn't like okra. Right. And we're all like, uh-oh. But is it fine? Like, is it just not his fave?
Right. Yeah. It's edible for him, but he's just like, I'd rather not eat it. Or is it really like do not serve this to me because I can't eat it.
Right.
So we'll find out because he's probably getting a lot of okra this episode. Well, how are you thinking about your rankings for next week? Are you going with your gut? Are you putting a little heart into it? Like, where's your head at in terms of how you're thinking about it?
I think that I'm going to go a little bit more random this week, just because I didn't feel like there was that much in the trailer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, so then it'll be like, who am I rooting for maybe the most?
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I did notice that Jennifer is in the elimination challenge cooking. So we'll see kind of how the shoulder situation plays out with her. But seems like she's kind of on the road to figuring that out. So, but there's still a scene where Justin and Kristen are talking and he seems upset. So that has to come up eventually, but we'll see where that lands. So I think probably like putting her in the middle, like she has done pretty well. And so I think I've had her pretty low just for that shoulder factor, but she's someone that I might kind of bring up higher than I have, even though that makes me nervous. And then like Sherry's the other one where I watched like the first, I think 5 minutes of this next episode. It was on Bravo or something. And she's talking about how she's sort of struggling to figure out like how to adapt to the elimination challenges. And I'm like, that's either a really good sign or a really bad sign. So I'm trying not to read too much into the edit because that so far has not helped me. Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking. And so I'm like, do I bump her up a little bit? But yeah, I like shaking it up, but I may sort of kind of keep my top 4 and top 2 the same, but we'll see. But I am hoping for like, I'd love for someone not in that to win, even though that would hurt me probably.
Yeah. No.
But that's okay. So we did have a couple notes on Fantasy League, just kind of moving on from power rankings. One thing to note is we gave everyone a -3 who was called to the bottom. There wasn't like clearly a bottom 3 there or a bottom number. So all 10 got a -3. So sorry for those of you who had drafted those chefs, but at least it's even across everyone. So it wasn't like only a few people got hit. Everybody got the same hit. So that's not bad. What are you seeing in the Pack Your Knives leagues that's interesting?
Yeah. So once again, I've got my standardized score because although a lot of the Pack Your Knives teams are drafting 5 chefs, there's only, I think, 2 that are drafting 2 chefs. But in any case, we can look at sort of a standardized score for each team. And right now, across the Pack Your Knives teams, the Team Sarah and Team Tom as well, it's Pack Your Knives 4 league, both Risotto Curse and Team 4, which are beating everyone, followed by M Croissant in Pack Your Knives 10 in 3rd. I think that Team 4 actually got updated last night. Someone was like, you miss us. Anyway, so that might change, but congrats to Risotto Curse.
Yeah, awesome.
Also great name. And something else that I wanted to look at was of the teams that have 7 chefs, which is where Sarah and Tom's leagues are, comparing them. So there are 28 teams with 7 chefs each, Tom and Sarah included. So looking at those, Sarah's team is actually just 1 point behind Team Ring Mold on My Plate in League Our Dear Friends. And they're like 10 points ahead of everyone else who have teams with 7 chefs. So congrats to Ring Mold on My Plate and, of course, Sarah. And then Tom is at the bottom with with sort of the other person from Our Dear Friends League, Team Gail's White Ankle Boots.
Love that.
So Womp womp.
Some great team names in these. It's like the better your team name, never mind. I was going to say the better you do. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Sorry, Gail's white ankle boots.
Yeah, those are good. Yeah. And then you and I, like, there are a lot of teams where there are just 2 chefs per team, and that's my league and work league and your friend league. And we're really far behind.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to call out there's a tie right now for most points for the fantasy league teams that have 2 chefs, which is Team 5 within the Top Bramer League and Nora's teams in the Sounders of the Sauté League. So yeah, it's really fun to look at, and I've been enjoying it. I hope all of you are enjoying it too with your leagues. I'm at 12 points. Kendra, you're at 13. Yep. So, you're still beating me.
Yep, just by 1 point. I am curious. So the ones with 39, did they draft episode 1 or episode 2? Because I know we didn't draft until episode 2, so we didn't start scoring until then. Yeah. Are they? If you don't have it pulled up, that's okay.
I don't, but actually, that's a very interesting point where, like, so I'm just looking at my work league. I know we didn't draft until after episode 1, but I did actually give everyone points in episode 1. Like, I'm seeing points there. So I guess everyone got backfilled points for that.
Okay. Got it. I was just curious. And then I think when we look at the leaderboard right now, Lawrence just overtook Rhoda, but by 1 point. So being in the big bottom this time hurt her a little bit. So, but yeah, it's fun to see the chef scores as well, and where they're each landing like week over week. And if you go to find topchef.com on the fantasy league tab, there is a view where you can see like week over week points for each chef. And then you can see a breakdown of how many elimination challenges they've won, how many quick fires, where they've been on top and bottom. So that's kind of a fun graph to look at if you're into that and kind of curious where everyone's at too. But with that, anything else, Carly, you wanted to touch on? Otherwise, I'll close this out.
Close us on out, Kendra.
All right. Look at us on time today. We've been having so much fun with the rankings the last few episodes. We went a little long, but we're just glad that you all are here and listening in. But just a quick reminder, make sure you submit your rankings on find-topchef.com. I also send out email reminders. If you haven't joined, you can still join. You'll be behind, but you can still have fun doing the rankings each week and seeing how you do. So make sure you get those in 5 minutes before the episode airs. So you've got plenty of time to get those in. This week, staying on theme, the bonus question is, how many times will Tom or the chefs mention how much Tom hates okra? So that one should be fun to keep track of. And then make sure you check out all of the great content on packyourknives.com, including Tom and Sarah's episode recaps. They do an amazing job actually going through like every challenge, all of the food, talking about the food. So make sure you don't miss their episodes. Carly, do you want to sign us off?
Yeah. It's been really great. And with that, this has been Track Your Knives.